Alright guys, welcome back to another DC Allies Hero Overview. Today we're going to be looking at Gorilla Grodd, another tank. Let's get into it. So of course Gorilla Grodd is the Guardian class hero because of course he is in the tank class. Obviously he is a big freaking gorilla. He's actually a mega-sized gorilla. As you know, Gorilla Grodd was genetically experimented on as a baby, so he is actually much bigger than a gorilla should be. So of course his primary is gorilla strength. Obviously he just punches people with his fists, so of course his primary is just his melee attack. He will just punch enemies with strong fists. Kind of basic. Honestly, I thought they'd do more with the fact that he can technically mind control people, but I guess they did go with that in his other abilities. But yeah, he usually wears a helmet that he can mind control, so I was wondering if maybe they were going to go with an Emma Frost type scenario where he hits them with like a mind beam or something, but maybe they're saving that for the Mad Hatter if they eventually release him. I don't know. But yeah, he just punches people. So he's just punching people as a mega oversized gorilla. And of course his passive is Kinetic Field. When he is critical on health, he will activate a Mind Blast that will push enemies back away from him, and this will only happen when he's critical. So I guess it's just an easy way for him to get enemies away from him so he can go and heal up or get healed by his healers. So pretty cool, pretty good crowd control ability. His first ability is Son of Grodd. He will target an enemy and send another gorilla minion. As you know, he leads an army of gorillas, so he will send another supersized gorilla version of himself out, and he can actually swap minds with this and control it. So he can just like sit in a corner and like control this the gorilla minion and attack enemies he wants, or he can just target enemies for the gorilla minion to go after and try and murder. So it's pretty cool. It kind of alludes to the fact that he is technically a king of gorillas and technically controls an army of gorillas at his mercy. So it's pretty cool that they made this niche a reality when it comes to him having minions that he controls. Kind of gives me Loki vibes, the fact that he can swap control and basically swap his mind between his main form and his minion form. But very interesting altogether. It does add a pretty good unique ability overall for a tank to have something that have like a controllable minion. The second ability is Force Blast, which is similar to Kinetic Field, except it is a mind beam that on impact will not only directly push back an enemy, but also any other enemies nearby that enemy. So it's technically a chain attack that is a beam of energy from his helmet that when hitting an enemy pushes them back to other enemies as well. So it is another crowd control ability. I do think he is one of the best crowd control tanks we've ever seen when it comes to both pushing back enemies and also just straight sending his minions into melee to them and meleeing them himself. But finally, Mental Swap. So similar to Poison Ivy, he can mentally swap his mind with another hero. Now that other player, he will gain full control of their ability set, including their ultimate, for up to 8 seconds, and they will get a minimal form of his abilities. So basically they'll swap minds, and that player will control him and he will control that player's character. And of course their alignments will swap, so Grodd will be seen as an enemy for other players, and he can only use, the player that's controlling Grodd can only use his melee and his passive. So he will not be able to use his minion. He will not be able to target or control the minion, and he will not be able to use Force Blast, and obviously Mental Swap is blocked and will not have access to the ultimate either. So basically the player is just meleeing, which he can also just get walloped by the enemy team, while Grodd just goes full haywire with the other player's character for 8 seconds, which is a pretty powerful ability. And then finally, Induced Rage is his ultimate. Another reference to his army of gorillas. He will send a group of gorilla minions that are both empowered with a damage boost and speed boosted as well, basically on a rage meter. And he can target enemies for these gorillas to attack, and he can also control one of them if he wishes to mind swap with one of them. So it is a very useful tool. I do think this is a good ultimate. Not only does it have a bunch of minions that are just a bunch of raging gorillas, but they also have empowered stats, more speed, and of course can be controlled by Grodd to target whoever he wants them to bully and maim to death. Of course, we have to talk about his team-ups afterwards, and that is First of all, we've talked about this with the King Shark video, Beast Buds, a play on Best Buds, which is Gorilla Grodd teaming up with his fellow villain King Shark, two animal tanks. When both are on the same team, Gorilla Grodd's kinetic passive field empowers King Shark's echolocation to shock enemies, as well as knock them back from him, basically giving him not only the chance to reveal enemies nearby, but also shock them with damage. King Shark's cripple effect also induces Grodd's shock effect as well, so basically whenever he bites people, he will also shock them, lowering their speed and damage. But of course, he is a villain, so he has a ton of heroes that he goes after. First of all, Gorilla Grodd, we talked about this with Shazam video, but he did have a niche rivalry with Shazam when he was trying to take over the city, and the only person who was able to resist his mind control effects was Shazam, because of course he has the wisdom of Solomon and couldn't be taken over. So no monkey business is the nemesis between Shazam and Gorilla Grodd. When Gorilla Grodd is on the other team, his passive kinetic field and force blast do not affect Shazam, meaning he won't be pushed back or shocked, but it will affect Billy Batson. So of course, if you're Billy Batson and not in Shazam form, then of course Gorilla Grodd's kinetic field and force blast will still affect you. Grodd's minions are also known to break toys like Billy Batson's skateboard if he stays too close. So of course, if you're in Billy Batson board, most likely, if you're in that kid form, you want to stay clear of Gorilla Grodd, but if you're in Shazam form, go at him as much as you want. Another nemesis is, in fact, a fellow villain. They are on this Legion of Doom together, but there have been certain aspects where Grodd has tried to take over the Legion of Doom, and of course, Sinestro and him have fought a ton when it comes to Grodd being the leader. So, of course, in this Kinetic Mind Games nemesis, Gorilla Grodd will use his mind control powers on Sinestro, because as you know, the Sinestro ring, the Yellow Lantern ring, all Lantern rings are tied to the mind, so if Gorilla Grodd messes with Sinestro's mind, he will mess with the ring. So when Sinestro is on the other team, Gorilla Grodd can shock him with Force Blast, and Sinestro will lose the ability to cast Combat Know-How, his thing where he copies an enemy and forces them to see their biggest fear, or Ring's Embrace, which allows him to shield an enemy or himself for 4 seconds. Basically, he's hit with a Sombra style hack when hit by Force Blast, as well as being normally shocked by Force Blast and pushed back. Another nemesis is another Justice Leaguer similar to Shazam, Bwana Beast. This one actually makes sense because Bwana Beast's power is similar to Vixen, where he can mimic the ability of animals, but this time he can actually assume their power and fuse himself with their powers to gain their effects. This nemesis Wildside is between him and Gorilla Grodd. Basically, when the Bwana Beast is on the other team, he gains an extra ability called Might of the Jungle, fusing himself with a gorilla and gaining a damage boost. He can climb and swing himself on rooftops and ceilings like he's swinging through the jungle in this form, and Grodd's minions view him as one of their own and will not attack them. So even if Gorilla Grodd targets him and tries to get his gorilla minions to try and get Bwana Beast, if he activates Might of the Jungle, the gorillas will ignore him and instead go for the next closest enemy, even if the targeted effect is still on Bwana Beast. So he is immune to the gorilla minions, which is something Gorilla Grodd players will have to remember. And of course, guys, that's going to be the end of this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, like if you like, dislike if you don't, subscribe down below if you're new to the channel, and comment down below which hero you like to play in DC Allies. And I'll see you guys with the next hero. Toodaloo!